Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are oddly back to Omikron the Nomad Soul. So I've spent about 25 minutes trying to play this game last time, and I said, well, the controls don't work, and because I got this game for free, I'm not committed. Let's just give up there. Which wasn't incredibly fair, but it's also pretty fair because the controls didn't work. And it wasn't my fault. It turns out if you have a controller plugged in when the application launches, it screws up the mouse and keyboard controls to the point of being unusable, which is insane, certainly. So let's actually play the game and at least get to the intro music where you can do David Bowie. You can hear David Bowie.
I come from a universe parallel to yours.
So let's go ahead and skip all this.
That's it.
Like, this intro's pretty dumb. Anyways, I'm still not fully aware of what the controls are. There's a sneak button that we need to be more aware of later. There's still a lot of reason why not to play this game, but I feel like it's like we really didn't give it even 25 minutes of a chance because of the issue. That being said, like, a lot of games are like this on Steam. You launch them, they don't run. You've got to jump through hoops. You've got to go look in the discussion boards. Often, even in the discussion forums, where the publisher can delete articles, you don't find solutions to your problem. You have to often Google it. Sometimes you can't even find the solution to your problem when you're Googling. For example, the Traveler's Tales Lego games don't run very smoothly on a GTX 970. Probably because the GTX 970 lied about how fast its RAM is, and it doesn't work well because of that. You can see I can now turn left and right. It is a very rough left and right turning. Left just kind of pivots you in place. With the shift button you can do this and run. So actually trying to play this game still is a bit of a problem, but you can see there's an item in front of us. Pressing the action button will pick up an object. That's enter. Once it's in my hand, pressing the action, I've got a computer graphic. I can access it by pressing the sneak button. So hitting enter picks this up. 3 magic rings. Or runes. This is shift. This control does nothing. Alt does nothing. The QWASD does nothing. Tab brings up your inventory. So we have the apartment key and an MK400. Notice it doesn't work. So examine it. That was the key that was highlighted, not the Oh no, things are moved around. You've just acquired the latest known desired sneak, the fabulous MK400. There we go. Okay. So, Selects in your possession, rings in your possession, 3, and open map apparently is something also. Inventory 2 of 18. This is certainly a large RPG element game. And see, that's gonna kill me on this more than anything else, is the desire of this game to be RPG-ish. If this was a 5-hour experience where we just heard some David Bowie music and saw the character, that would be fine. But actually having to play the game is kind of unsatisfactorily It's gonna be really, really rough. And so you walk out here, you see these ladies in red that strike me as slightly oddly dressed. This guy is a little underdressed too. You see these vents over here, and there's a doorway. And let's speed things up. You can jump off the edge, by the way. So, nobody is dressed like you, which is rather odd. So unless you're a police officer, and you just walk down here, you start to see more of the city, and you actually trigger the introduction. And see, after I got the controls working and played this to this point, I felt like we should get at least this far. Eidos Interactive, it's really gonna say David Bowie, I wasn't joking about that. Quantic Dream. This was the first game they ever made. How they could afford David Bowie, I don't know. David Cage is the main force behind Quantic Dream, and he's also kind of the main anchor to it. Almost all their games end up getting renamed too. They give them, like, clearly the original game was just the Nomadic Soul, and yet they've had to rename it to Quantic the Nomadic Seal or whatever. And see, there's a whole game soundtrack here. There's David Bowie and Reeves Gabriel's. So the camera just flew through that character. And this is a pre-rendered thing, I would assume. So why they chose to do that, I have no idea. Giant floating head. This does definitely have the feel of some of David Bowie's musics and art and music videos. I think I like his music, but I'm not much of a fan of music in general, so it's probably something I should try to listen to and learn. I know I listened to his last song before he died, and the main song for the latest soundtrack, and I really didn't like that one. It was pretty long, but I think I would like some of his older stuff. And see, even here, they're trying to be very cinematic. The city seems to be immense. How can I get to Kai's apartment? A vehicle might be useful. The sneak terminal on my forearm has a call slider button. Maybe I should use that. Alright, so call slider. I thought that would have meant something else. I thought that meant would have meant you were calling somebody named Slider. They have a strange language. The idea of a soul moving between worlds is slightly interesting. Oh my goodness, wow. I don't understand. Did I not call a slider, or did I call a slider? Did I get in on the wrong side? Seriously, we are just kind of right back to where we are. Just call slider. And one would think you just walk on the side and you hit enter. And that's exactly right. I was just on the wrong side. And then automatic, and then you just go to the apartment. And here's people on the hover bikes. Tons of duplicates here. So even if you were believing that everybody on this planet is just a robot, this looks ridiculous. This game is way too old to actually play. It is way too old. And while we were out in the overworld, we were hearing more music. And apparently we can get in the elevator. And let's have some way to get in. It has a slot built into it. So we have to use this key. Let's see, apartment key, use on, no, I guess you just use it. What did it just say? And you have to really line up in front of these things. This is like the game I just played before this, Normality, where it's a 3D environment before 3D environments really make sense. Particularly, I would say, if you don't have controller support, really good controller support, you can't have a 3D environment game that does that runs smoothly and is fun to play. Like, we've made it into his apartment. That's where it said. And the Central Bank of Omikron 100 Celix must be money. And see, boy, is that just a ridiculous looking design for money. A sunken den. And seems like you can just walk around and pick things up, hitting enter twice, which is annoying. You don't want a game where you have to hit enter twice to accomplish things.
Kale.
And apparently, because you're sharing a body with somebody, pressing the hit button, I can look around. That is the mouse stuff, which I forgot about the mouse stuff, which actually that doesn't work very well at all because the right button doesn't really do anything. And what does this do? Apparently this stores things. And apparently you can examine objects and close this. But how do you get out of here? With the tab button? That's pretty nicely animated. Somebody spent some effort on that. So you're gonna get all these flashbacks, and it seems like Quantic Dreams has a consistent love, and I guess this is David Cage, might be more accurate to say, has a consistent love with showing women in, I imagine, different states of undress or dress. This is a mirror, and the mirror seems to work, which is remarkable. How many games mirrors don't work in? This apartment is huge. This is some kind of shower. Chemical shower. Interesting. This planet has an odd feeling to it. There we go. No sink to wash your hands. Anything like that. Like, this planet doesn't seem like it's crammed with people. So, or maybe just because this game is set in this way. Let's see what's in here. Sleeping pills prescribed. This feels a lot like a Deus Ex 1, and I would really love at some point to play Deus Ex 1, but it's just never gonna happen, and I know it isn't. It's too old of a game, and that's exactly the same case here. Is struggling through this. I wouldn't play Tomb Raider 1 for the same reason.
Choose your difficulty level.
Let's choose 1 and hit enter.
Thank you. Get ready. The fight is about to start.
Look at that head just bending like it's a rubber toy. And now we've got something that is on the lines of a what would this be? Tekken? Yeah, it's a Tekken style fighter. And all of the buttons and kicks are now through the Q and S button. This is S. This is Q. Let's see. This is W. D. Doesn't seem to do anything. So it's just like 4 square buttons. I can see why Quantic Dream would want to program something like this in the first attempt at a game. This is way too ambitious, and I think David Cage always makes his games way too ambitious. That's why it's taken him 5 years to make his next game, and it still isn't out. But yeah, honestly, if they were gonna get rings floating in the air, why would that surprise you any more than anything else? I'm the only one that can see them. That might be useful. Interesting. And it's a save spot. Interesting. I think they learned their lesson though too. Quantic Dream now really only cares about telling stories. They really don't want any gameplay, which is fine. Look at the girl compared to the guy. She's got slightly more polygons than he does, just around her arms and her face.
I thought I'd never see you again. Where have you been? I haven't heard from you in days.
The lip sync in a 1990 game. Let's see. I'm not Kale. I'm occupying his body from another dimension. I can't tell you anything you wouldn't believe me. Let's just tell the truth.
Kale, are you sure you feel all right? Do you want me to call a Meditech?
No, I'm okay. I think I've lost my memory. You must help me find out what happened to me in the last few days. Tell me about the circumstances surrounding my disappearance.
4 days ago, you didn't come home from work. I called your office in security headquarters. They said that you and your partner, Den, had gone out on an investigation and that they hadn't heard from you. That was all they could tell me.
Moving her head a lot to have a conversation.
They couldn't find you anywhere. You disappeared without a trace.
If they were gonna
sick with worry.
voice
I ended up
act
thinking that you'd been arrested by the militia.
her,
And that they'd
why
killed
not
you.
voice act me also? Particularly considering how I'm a soul inside another character, that would totally explain the different voices, the voice being one specific person instead of the video game player's voice. Also, it seems like they may have actually captured film for this character and are actually stretching an animation of film. So they took the film, stretched it over her face, then animated it. Because when she speaks, notice that her eyes, her mouth, her features seem to kind of stretch in and outward.
You're an investigating agent in the Omikron police. You were working on some cases with your partner, Den.
Den.
When I realized you'd disappeared, I tried to find Den to ask him if he knew anything. But he'd disappeared too.
A lot of old games, particularly on the PC, tried to sell on sex appeal, and sadly it worked. Nowadays, not as much.
I don't know anything about your investigations.
Now
You
we
never
actually
told
have
me
to
about
play
your
good
work.
games.
Why don't you go to your office in security headquarters? They're probably still looking for you.
So this is sort of an RPG with a fighting mechanic and a shooting mechanic.
Oh, Cal. I'm so glad to have you back.
But it seems like most of it is just going to be conversation, which would be definitely in line for Quantic Dream games. And dare I risk following her? Yeah, what does it really say if I do follow her? These doors really suck. And yeah, that's what I figured. She was gonna hit the shower. And I don't know how far I want to press my luck on this. I can't jump on top of tells like I'm not an animal. I could be doing my own side of the bed like a good boy. So it seems like it will let me get in bed, it just won't let me. This feels more like an adventure game than anything else, though. And this is about the level of what the hot coffee mod gave showed. That monster. Again, I forgot about the monster. That's about the level of the detail that the hot coffee mod and controversy was. And yet, mostly just because news agencies were getting a lot of coverage and of covering it, it just became a much bigger deal than it really should have been. And honestly, I think this was probably before then, so not even a big deal. Now we have a gun, so we can use it, but we would have to leave.
You just got back and you're already leaving?
And see, wasn't that the flash we saw?
Cal, I love you.
Ironically, she actually put on slightly, I think, more clothes when she put on the underwear. Which is silly. very pyramid-esque, these buildings. And I imagine either this would not take you to anywhere, or it would take you to the same place. So if I look at my police badge and my inventory, I can get to police headquarters. It says we have a Weaver gun. Here's the badge. Examine. And then let's use the slider. Security headquarters seemed like it was where we were before. And honestly, it seems like you could probably just run the places and not have to play this. Use the sliders. Deus Ex Human Revolution had a feel like this too. But I wouldn't want to... But Human Revolution did an upgrade compared to the original Deus Ex and the one between the original Deus Ex and Human Revolution. Wow, this is exactly where we started. There's gonna be certainly a lot of walking around and talking to people to stretch out a game like this. There can't possibly be that many maps, maybe 5 or 6 locations with each or nearly every building playing a big role. Let's see, is this the head of police, or who knows what building this is? Clearly it's some place that's important at some point in the game. It's probably a hospital if I was to guess. I don't know. This game desperately needs a remake. It really would have to have one for me to play it. The controls need to be improved. Let's assume that that's another apartment complex. We'll probably go question people. I imagine this is also a apartment complex. Or I might go talk to people. Yeah, if there was a major remake of this game, I'd play it then. It would have some reason, but staring at these graphics for hours and hours just to squeeze out a few David Bowie songs, and that's really all I'm here for, is I want to see David Bowie, the character. I want to hear the songs. It would be easier to simply... Apparently this is a strip club. Yep, there seems to be some heavily sexualized atmosphere here. Okay. You have to be facing a door to see it. Interesting that there's nobody on the poles dancing though, so either you have to come back later or you have to pay. And I'm not really following a map or anything, I'm just trying to see how much variety there actually would be in this game. This is a restaurant. The rooms are gigantic, lacking in detail. This is an old, original generation 3D game, like, just intolerably empty. amazingly, annoyingly empty. Can't see very far, even though by modern standards I should be able to see all the way to the end of the city. Far too few things. And see, if Quantic Dreams was a little bit more successful, I imagine they could have hired a company in the past 5 years to remake this game and have it have way more people in it, and take maybe the voice acting and just touch it up and put it in there. The graphics are easy to remake. It's the part about let's see, badge number. This use. There we go. What's crazy is this robot didn't recognize I was a police officer and just left me there. You'd think they'd program the robots to be more helpful to police officers who had been attacked. He just called you a citizen. Well, it's been 30 minutes. We've given it a much fairer shake this time, but honestly, it doesn't really. It doesn't change. It doesn't change the main issue of this game just being way too old. Way too old. Maybe I will at some point just watch some other poor person on YouTube go through this whole game in a Let's Play, but for me, it's not worth my time to struggle through it. I'd much prefer have somebody go through a walkthrough, and even in that instance, I don't feel like messing with these controls and following a walkthrough myself. Yeah, desperately, this game needs a remake. And maybe, I mean, it's slightly possible. It's not likely. If anything, it's more likely that Detroit, the next David Cage game, will not sell enough and it won't make enough money and they'll just go out of business then. That's more likely than seeing a remake of this, particularly since they didn't even make a sequel to it. That's going to be it for Omikron, the Nomad Soul. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.